just playing with my diesel heater, which works very well, but recently it started making a bit of a strange noise, so I've kind of pulled it out a bit to see what's going on. And I'm not entirely certain. I'm going to have to take it up onto the bench, I think, and have a look. But the symptom is a very odd noise from the intake. I had just had this running very briefly just to show the noise. Let's see if I can do it again. It is turned off. I'll reset it. So it's going to do its little warm up. And of course now it doesn't do it. There we go. It's a sort of glugging noise. It's coming from inside the inlet, and you can make it go away by manipulating this hose. So I'm wondering if there's fluid in there or something. I'll turn it off before it actually powers up, because I don't have the muffler on. I don't want to gas myself. Cooling down the combustion chamber even though it wasn't running. Initially I thought the problem was the little fuel filter, but I took that apart and gave it a good clean. It wasn't that dirty. I'm running a mix of diesel and used engine oil in this, so for every litre of old oil I top it up to 5 litres of liquid with diesel. I filter that oil first. Well, I say filter, I put it through paint strainers. I tried coffee filters, but they take too long. They just clog up. So paint strainer at least makes sure there's no decent chunks of anything inside there. And then there's the filter there. Like I say, I took that off, I cleaned it out, it was fine. So yeah, it's very odd. It sounds like liquid in there. Maybe it's condensation. I do have a condensation problem in here. Once I can lift this up and get it on the bench, I'll take it apart and have a look. Other than that, it works fine. It generates a lot of heat, and they seem pretty reliable. It's going to take a few minutes to shut down. Oh, there it goes. Sounds like liquid in there. Maybe the combustion chamber's flooded. I don't know if you can flood these things or not. I wouldn't have thought so. But what I'll do is I'll take it up so it's a bit higher. We'll tip it up, see if any fluid comes out of it. If not, I'll have to open it up and actually open up the combustion chamber, which I've never done before, so that would be interesting, and see what's going on. Okay, that answered that question pretty quickly. It is full of goopy engine oil and diesel. I think this may be from when I was playing with trying to get the right ratio. I had a lot more engine oil in the mix than I ended up with. I think I was running 25%, 30%, I can't remember. And that was obviously too much, so it didn't burn properly. So I'm going to strip this down and have a look inside it, see what's going on. But that's definitely the source of that glugging noise. That's a lot thicker than what I'm actually putting through it. Unless somehow the oil has separated out maybe, and it isn't mixed and this is what's left over. But we'll take the cover off and have a look. So this is a part. So this is the main guts of the unit, which is kind of the burner and the fan. Seems to be a little control board there. Guessing this is the glow plug. That'll be a temperature probe. It's not really a lot to these, so I think the only thing I really need to be careful of is there's a gasket in here. It's just a paper gasket, but I want to try and keep that intact. You can buy spares for all of these, but if I can keep it intact, I can put it back together and rerun it. Otherwise I'll have to order some and wait, or laser cut some or something. So I think if I get that circuit board out of the way, I can just take this cover off and have a look inside it. And I don't think there's much inside here. This is a motor. There'll be like a flat disc, I think, where the oil gets kind of sprayed in and flung out, and it just gets ignited and burns in there. It's just a little, it's not even a turbine. It's just a burner, basically. So I'll open it up. It'll be interesting to see how gunky it is inside. The little circuit board just has one screw holding it and a clip. That's easy to get undone. You can undo all the connectors. Unfortunately, that gasket did break just when I popped the top off. I think this is on the inlet side. So yeah, you can see it's come apart. I could probably put that back together with a little bit of Hylam spread around it. I think they would probably still work, but I may order new gaskets for it. And this is what's inside there. So there's a bit of fuel around, a bit of oil. And I think I need to get into there to get into the burner. But it looks like I'm going to have to remove the glow plug first. Should better get to that with a spanner and undo that, see what that looks like. So this comes out just with a 12mm spanner. I don't know anything at all about these things, so I'm assuming that looks kind of okay. It's not wet. Looks like there's a little bit of ash or something on it, but I'm assuming that's fine. So I guess take this cover off and have a look inside there, which will be the actual inside the actual combustion chamber. Luckily this gasket didn't come apart. This will be, it's almost like the equivalent of a flame tube in a jet engine. Not quite, because it's doesn't have holes in it. There's a bit of ash down in there. It looks a little bit bunged up, and I don't know what how hard that ash is going to be. And then down inside there, I'm not sure how much we can see. It's not too bad. There's a little bit of soot, but let's get something. It's not like there's layers and layers of soot in there or anything. I think it's actually reasonably clean. This is the exhaust. Yeah, it looks okay. I think it's a bit hard to see, but yeah, this is kind of flaky ash inside there. I think it's a little bit gummed up, but overall, that's not too bad. I think I do need to clear. There's sort of passages in here, and it looks like those are a little bit gummed up. Yeah, you can see there the build-up. I'm guessing that's at the bottom. Yeah, so the tube sits that way in the machine. And I think basically what's happened is at some point I put in way too thick a mix, and it just wasn't burning it. So it sort of settled at the bottom. That'll be why some of it's leaked back through this intake. Yeah, it's interesting. So it won't have been burning cleanly in there or evenly, so I can clean all of that up, put this back together. Like I say, I think this gasket, I'll order new ones. This is on the air intake side, so it's not going to be quite so bad, but I think if I put some gasket sealer on it, all the bits of the gasket are there, they're just on two separate halves, but that should reseal it again. I'll have to give it a bit of a clean, but I think this will go back together fine. I'm sure it'll work fine once I put it back together. Taking this apart just a little bit more. So on the fuel inlet here, there's actually a little gauze that slides in there. This is pretty gummed up on mine. I believe you can replace these. I think you're supposed to when you service these units. And the other thing I've noticed on mine is inside there, where it's been sitting, there's a huge pile of gunk. It's really hard. I've been trying to scrape it out. I'm slowly getting there, but that's kind of blocking part of this burner. So I think what I might actually do is put this in the ultrasonic cleaner. I'm not sure what I'll use in there. Something slightly caustic maybe, just to break down all the oil and gunk and crap in there and try and get this clean again. I don't think that's going to do it any harm. It seems to be all one solid piece of metal. I've taken the gasket off, of course, and I think that'll help soften that up. I've been trying to clean it out with old scribers. I've got quite a long way, but it gets a bit tricky because you can't get in there. There's no way to take this apart. That end cap is spot welded in place in there, so I think giving it a good soak might help. And I'll see how this gauze cleans up. I think in the ultrasonic cleaner that'll clean up pretty well. We'll see. If not, I'll just order the kit that you can get to rebuild these things, and I'll have to wait for that and put it back together. I've ended up taking this thing apart a bit further than you'd normally go. So this is the cover plate on the back of the burner, and this is held in with stakes. So I was able to pop that off, and inside here you can see there's sort of slots that the air, I guess, goes through to mix with that fuel, and inside there is really gummed up. It's like hard baked in stuff. So I'm trying to scrape as much of that out as I can now. This has been through the ultrasonic cleaner a couple of times, which has definitely helped soften it. But this whole thing needs a really good clean or soak, or I might actually try some oven cleaner on it to really clean out inside there. When I put this cover back on, either I can just rivet down these stakes, or maybe a little tiny spot of TIG weld will hold those in place. I have ordered new gaskets for this as well, but it's really gummed up just in there, and I suspect that was from putting through far too thick an oil mix for it, and the oil sat there, it didn't burn, and just baked itself on. So I'm going to try and clean out as much of that as I can and see if I can get this working again. If not, you can just buy these parts. I think it's 25 New Zealand dollars for a new one of these. So you know, it's worth trying to fix it, but I'm safe in the knowledge that if I can't fix it, I can buy a new part. These things are so simple, all the parts are available. Like I said, I bought gaskets. I think they were a set of 5 gaskets was, or 5 sets of gaskets was $7 New Zealand. So I'm going to keep cleaning this out. I think I've got some oven cleaner around here somewhere. I'll have to have a look. But yeah, really baked on thick crispy ash in there, I guess it is. So I'll keep cleaning it up and see. I'm not going to wait till I get the gaskets. I will reassemble this and I'll just use some gasket goop on it, which is more than enough to seal it. I don't think any of these seals are hugely critical. They're just sort of air type seals. We're not trying to stop petrol leaking out or anything like that, but it'll be good to get the proper ones for it. Finally got all of this cleaned up again. I've got the back plate reattached. It is just staked on, so I was able to hammer it back on and then repeen over the little stakes. I did manage to get it clean. There was really a horrible amount of build-up just in the end of this. It had blocked. I should have showed it before. I put the back plate on, but there's slots in there, and a lot of the slots were blocked up. So I've given this a really good clean, soaked it in the engine cleaner for a little while, a couple of times, given it a really good rinse off, and just gave it a good clean up. And I decided after doing all of that work, I'm going to wait until I get the proper gaskets to reassemble it. I'd rather do it all properly and just do it once. So that should now hopefully work a lot better again. This will go back down inside there, and other than that it looks fine. So I've ordered the gaskets. The other thing I have done, I've been meaning to do it for ages, is order an extension lead for the little control panel so I can remotely mount this rather than just having it lying on the floor. And I'll probably pick up a few more little fuel filters for it as well. But I think the last time I put diesel in this, you can see it's a lot more fluid. I remembered I was actually, instead of mixing 1 litre of oil up to the 5 litres of diesel, I was only going to half that. So there's only about 500 ml of old oil in there. So that seems a lot better. Yeah, it'll just be a matter of now waiting until all of that stuff gets delivered from China. Seems like it's been the last fortnight has been for things breaking, including myself. I've had a bad cold or flu all of the last week. Haven't been able to do much at all. I'm still kind of recovering. I just realised there's a stick insect. Anyway, so as well as my diesel heater breaking down, which I'm now waiting for the parts to fix that, my generator engine stopped working. I was running it last weekend, I think it was, the weekend before. It was putting along quite happily and then it just stopped. And as I say, I've had this cold, so I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but I've had a look at it today, and it turns out the problem was the capacitor in the distributor. This is the dead one. This has basically died. So I have a little capacitor meter, I can measure these. This one measures nothing, and I went through my junk pile and I found another old distributor with another capacitor, pulled that one out. That was reading about 1.5 microfarads, which is about right. So stuck that back in, and this is again working nicely. I've had it running for a little while, so it's warm. It is leaking various things, not puddles of stuff, but there are little weeps and drips, and it's getting a coating of oil, and I think there might be a small coolant leak. So you get a little bit of, I think that's water. But it sits and chugs away quite happily. Now I did did remember that I actually bought a while ago, just to play with, a very small alternator. I was vaguely thinking about fitting it to this, but it doesn't really work because the only way to turn the engine over on the Riley is through the dynamo with the starter handle on the front. There's no way to get to the flywheel. It's all kind of buried inside there. So I did buy this little tiny alternator, and I'm thinking, well, I've got nothing else to do with it, so maybe I will look at making a bracket and mounting it to this. I don't know what I could drive with it, maybe a battery charger or something, but yeah, might be another interesting little project to do at some point. So I like to run this every so often. I just like to keep it, let it tick over for 20 minutes or so. I figure that's probably much better for it than letting it sit, as long as it comes up to temperature every time. So I've just realised I can't really upload this film until I've fixed my diesel heater, so I'm not sure how long it's going to take for the different parts to arrive from China. Hopefully not too long. And then when I've got it all back together and running again, I will I'll update. And I think I'm going to stop running waste oil in it. One of the main reasons I wanted to do that is just, I'm not quite sure where I can take it. I'm pretty sure I can take it to the local tip and they'll recycle it. When I lived in Auckland, you used to be able to take it to various car parts stores and they'd recycle it for you, but they don't seem to do that anymore. The only other thing I could maybe do is talk to my mechanic around the corner, and maybe he has it picked up, or I don't know if he would pay to dispose of it or if they'd pay him to take it away. I should find out. But yeah, I think I'll just go back to running straight diesel in it. I think it'll be a lot healthier for it. Out in the shed, putting back together my diesel heater. I've cleaned this all up now and put it back together. I basically got new gaskets for it. That's these. They're quite nice gaskets. They're very thick, very solid gaskets. I got a set of 5 of those, and I also got new input screens. These kind of go around the glow plug where the fuel comes in. The previous one was a bit gummed up, so I've replaced that. And put the unit back together, put it back in the box. I also got an extension cable for the little controller. So what I'll do now is put the cover back on and re-hook it up and see if it works. It's all back together, and I would call this a semi-successful test. The machine is working again, but unfortunately the hose clamps that come with these are really crappy, and the exhaust pipe fell off basically. So I'm going to need to open the doors and things now to avoid gassing myself, and I'll need to get some new hose clamps for it. The one that's on there, I tightened it up so far and then it just started slipping. So better quality hose clamps, and I think that's good again. It's just doing it shut down now.